Welcome to another episode of Complete Football Africa, Nigeria. No, not Nigeria. Africa. Africa will be celebrating the World Cup without Nigeria. So let's take a look. We want to focus on the GOAT of the day, as far as I'm concerned, and the GOAT of 2023, Iwobi. The question is, must he go? If Nigeria had guys like Eze and Co. and guys like who's the guy that plays for Bayern Munich?
Musiala,
Musiala,
Musiala.
and Olise, that guy could never dream of playing for Nigeria. He couldn't even dream of playing for Comoros Islands. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, we don't have depth in midfield, and it seems like the English don't want him, so we're stuck with him. But first of all, to be fair to him, he's not supposed to be playing in midfield. He's supposed to be playing as a winger. But even as a winger, he can't start as a winger for Nigeria. I don't think he can. But like I said, it goes to show you how poor our midfield is that we have to put someone who's not even a midfield in the midfield. Nigeria has a lack of depth of quality midfielders. We have tons of wingers and tons of forwards, but our midfield is desolate. To be honest with you, our midfield is like a quiet town where there's only three people who live there. I'm serious. The midfield is a big problem. So we want to focus on Iwobi today and talk about his shortcomings and what can be done to use him properly on the team. What are your thoughts, Afolabi?
Yeah, I think it will be like you rightly mentioned, and I'm with you on this because it will be when he played for Arsenal before going to Fulham, it was a winger. So his natural instinct is to drop into wide areas and then drift into central spaces. So he's a liability, and he's not a proper 10. He's a winger come number 10. So he struggles to fill that role. And if you look at our game against the Congolese, the moment we entered the second half and we made some substitutions, we lost control of the midfield. And both Onyedika and Iwobi left Ndidi in acres of space that he couldn't cover, the recovery runs he had to make and stuff like that. So Ndidi is basically a DM. So I feel Iwobi, if we're going to continue using him, you would have to use him in a kind of 4-4-2 formation where he will play very close to the striker, or maybe a 4-2-3-1. But playing as a
Yeah,
midfielder that would absorb himself from defensive responsibilities, it won't work because sometimes you lose the ball and you have to drop into your defensive shape. You have to press. Iwobi doesn't press. He doesn't have recovery runs. He just waits for the ball and passes when he's free. So we need a little bit of hard work from him. And that's why I think the problem is Onyedika does a bit of hard work, but he too has the propensity to move forward. So they
yeah,
left Ndidi as the only defensive midfielder yesterday to cover a vast amount of
yeah.
space.
And like you said, and it's even worse because since Iwobi is a winger with some playmaking abilities, when he's in the midfield, he he lacks the type of playmaking that you would have to have in central areas.
He
So the
doesn't have
midfield doesn't
elite passing, elite line
have,
breaking passing. He doesn't have it.
yeah, and he's more of like when he plays for was it Fulham on the
Fulham,
wing
yes.
crossing the ball. He does a good one or two cute little dribbles, sort of like a baby Doku. Baby Doku. Doku when Doku was 6 years old. Okay.
I think the bigger problem for Iwobi is not so much his passing,
Yeah.
it's his positional sense of play as a number
Yeah,
10.
because he can't play in a
Because
central area, and he
yeah,
Yeah,
doesn't
I
have
can't play in
mean,
the
even
central
even when he
area.
plays, even in another sport like rugby, a lower quality scrum half is better than a center that goes into that position because it's a very specialized position. And number 10 in the football formation, you have to have the positional discipline to be in the same, even if the better player defeats you. If you look at that game, there was a big gap. There were about five players up front for Nigeria because, like he said, Umobi and Onyedika, who are natural affiliation to push up front, were sitting up there with the three forwards, and then you had the defenders all back, and then you just had like in the middle, you had a Congolese sandwich of midfielders.
Yeah, that's
So
why they
no
ran through
matter
the midfield. They ran
yeah,
through the
so
midfield.
no matter what you do, once you kick the ball into the midfield, a Congolese person is going to get it, and they're going to control the midfield because there is no positional discipline. So before you even get into the question of the passing, which was poor from Iwobi, the other bigger problem with playing a player who is not a natural number 10 is that they don't know how to position themselves strategically. Technically, Onyedika can't really pass either. We don't have players that pass. Ndidi and Onyedika are ball winners. There's nobody creative there. But it would have been better for us to have played two ball winners in midfield and a traditional 4-4-2 and hope for the best, especially when we were weakened. Because once we're playing that 4-3-3 and we're now compromising our midfield with the Iwobi getting lost and disappearing and leaving two CDMs that don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to retaining the ball.
Do you remember Paris Bueller's day off? Iwobi's day off.
Yeah, those guys were playing as practically as defenders because we don't trust our defense. I mean, when Wembley is a showboat,
what does this say about Nigerian football that we don't even have one player in all of our team that can pass the ball, that has that type of? We don't have, and we had guys like Okocha back in the day, even Elise, who was a defensive midfielder.
Yeah,
Kanu pass.
These guys can pass, and this goes back to the central problem: no league. We're not developing youth players. Well, what are your thoughts, Mr. Warif? Yeah. Is Warif still out? Okay. Yeah, Kunle, that starts
on mute.
Oh, Warif, you're on mute. Okay. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. So, like we know,
no, his connection is bad. Warif, you have to mute for now. Warif, mute yourself until you figure out what your sound problem is. All right, so we'll go to Kunle. I cut in front of you quickly. What was your last thought?
Yeah, my last thought on the game about the midfield is that it's a bit of a mess because Iwobi is not a specialist position. The best thing would have been to play a 4-4-2. Hindsight is 2020. If we knew we didn't have a plan B for if anything happened to Osimhen, I would have preferred that we actually exhaust Congo in the first half, let them get used to a weaker attack, and then let them not score. And in the second half, when they're running out of energy, we now bring on Osimhen and Lookman and destabilize them. Because once those two came off, for whatever reason, be it injury or strategy, once those two came off, we were not going to win the game in normal time again. And we were going to we just had to hold on. That was the end. And that was very, very shocking for a Nigerian side. Because normally we should be able to present a threat. But once those two players went off, that was the end of our. That was the end.
This is the same problem we had in Nations Cup. AFCON is the midfield. The midfield is a big problem. And was Osimhen injured in the last Nations Cup? Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah, if the midfield is standard, then even an average striker can still maintain pressure and play well. But if the midfield is weak,
they were using the wings. They were using the wings in the last Nations Cup. But anyway, so and then their lack of a midfield was why they got destroyed by Cote d'Ivoire in the finals. What was the score? 2-1 or 2-0? It was 2-1 or 2-0, but it looked like 3 or 4-0. It had a psychologically.
They psyched us out in that final, I think.
All right, what are your thoughts, TK, before we go to Saeed?
Yeah, my thoughts are exactly as the same as you guys. You know, when you look at Iwobi, he's not really a classic number 10. These number 10s are, you need someone who's tactically aware and someone who can play in between the lines when you look at Iwobi. But now then you find out Iwobi is like he's receiving balls in the wide areas. Now he wants to come in. Sometimes he's just too slow to turn and give a pass to the defenders. And also you find in Nigeria's pivot point with Onyeka and Ndidi sitting a little bit too deep into the defense, where now when they have to switch from defense to attack, it's a little bit too slow. And to compensate for the slowness of the switch, maybe Eric Shell would say, just ball the ball to the wingers, and let's hope something can happen. So the creative midfield is not there really. So for Nigeria, it's to the drawing board. I feel like they should just pray and look for players in that Nigerian league in some shape or form, because some of these players, when they come from their European clubs, they have certain roles in the European clubs. Then they come to Africa, they're given different roles. Now they are uncomfortable in the roles that they are given and the conditions that are within that role.
To be honest with you, they don't have time. What they need to do, this is going to sound strange. They need to make a defensive setup. Just use a defensive setup.
Yeah.
Put 2 or 3 CDMs. Use some of your defensive players like Benjamin. Bring those guys forward and play defensively because they don't have a midfield. That's what I think. 4-4-2. Just put what's his name? What's his name up in the front? Of course,
Osimhen.
Somebody. They have to play more conservatively because they can't leave that type of gap in their midfield. So they have to sacrifice scoring. Don't you think so, Fuck? They might have to sacrifice scoring for now, unless Osimhen is good enough because of the press. He was hiding the fact they don't have a midfield, but you can't do that against Congo.
But now the issue.
You can't do that with Congo, and their defense is too strong.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Even if they, Mustafa.
Yeah.
I'm saying like even if they have that setup, right, defensive setup, there's going to be points in the game where they're going to have to play a high line, and Nigeria struggles with
but they just have to pick their time. They have to pick their moments in which they don't have any other choice because they can't recruit players now. That's for coming up for after the Nations Cup. All right, what are your thoughts, Saeed?
On my own opinion, I think there are many layers to reason why the failure we are currently witnessing in Super Eagles now. So I will first start from our FA, our NFF.
2 minutes, because go ahead.
So they are even the problem because you can tell even the morale of the players are already down. So even what happened, I don't think anybody that is following Super Eagles matches will be surprised about the outcome of that yesterday's match. Because one, the morale is down. Even prior that time, just like what TK said.
Remember, we're talking about Iwobi though.
I know. Like,
I love what you're saying.
How can Iwobi be our creative midfielder? That guy is so flat-footed. I understand that he normally, as in he hustles for the ball or something, but I don't think he should. If our NFF were have been doing their work, they are supposed to scout for a creative midfielder. We have so many talented players that can play that role perfectly well, and I don't understand why that coach will start we change our defense line. The defenders that we use, the Frederick guy and the what's he called, the guy with the other the dread, the Fulham guy. Why can't he just play the 5 and 6? He now changed it Semi Ajayi or something, and as in there are so many things that is so wrong in that yesterday's game. I only saw the first half. I couldn't even watch the second half because I was so pissed that I knew it's going to happen. I just because how can a good coach just change his formation randomly like that?
Yeah. Football is a team sport. You can't just blame Iwobi.
Here's the biggest mistake he made. Unlike Congo, he didn't bring Babalawo. So we'll see what happens.
You cannot imagine. The coach is now blaming Congolese players that they are using Juju. As in,
just grief.
Imagine that kind of failure, blaming Juju on say because they want. Those guys deserve to win that yesterday's game. Anybody that watches that match yesterday, they know that they deserve to win.
That was a good point.
They play to win.
I'm cutting you not because of time. How much time do we have left, Afabi?
We still have time, Mustafa.
Okay, because we're still going to talk about Ndidi, but let's go quickly to Mr. Warif. What are your thoughts about Iwobi and about the play in general yesterday?
He's on mute. Saeed, Warif is on
mute. He might have to sit out this one. He might have to sit out.
Saeed, you actually stole the words out of my mouth, and I wanted to talk about the NFF and so on. I don't want to go into that. You've already said enough about that. Football is a team sport. Yeah, I mean, before Gabon, we saw the boycott of training. I mean, that kind of atmosphere is not the kind of team that's going to go far in any kind of competitive sport. The difference between Nigeria and Congo is that we would like to qualify, but Congo want to qualify.
Exactly.
Yeah? So we are like, we need the money, we need to eat. It would be nice. So if you qualify, it'd be nice.
Look at
Congo are like they are going to do everything to qualify. If they have to strangle somebody's mother, they will do it. That is Congo's mind.
If it had been Maradona, they would have to force him off the pitch for injury. Osimhen would quickly got off the pitch. He probably had a small hamstring twinge.
Exactly. I'm still here to get the explanation of why.
No, they said he had hamstring problems. he says he has hamstring problems. He was already protecting his hamstring because he's worried about Galatasaray. If this had been Maradona, this is the World Cup. If Maradona loses, he'll hang himself the next morning if they don't go to the World Cup.
Take away the
You
pounds
can't
in
go, no amount of
pockets.
talent can't defeat passion, and we don't have the passion that.
The passion is not there.
Let me tell you something. World Cup, I would rather get injured and let Galatasaray shout at me than to never play in the World Cup. Osimhen has never played in the World Cup, and he never will. Okay, what are your thoughts, Mr. Afalabi, before we move on?
Yeah, I quite agree with you. At a stage like this, we expect more from our players.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed when they said that they were not paid, and because of that, they boycotted training. But then again, if you look at the application to the game yesterday, I felt, I'm not talking generally, but I felt Osimhen was not as passionate as he would usually be. And the reason is simple. He saw Nigeria's chances of qualifying as a 50-50, and he wasn't ready to take the risk. Because even when he left, people were contemplating, was it strategic or injury? Nobody was quite sure. So on that note, and the moment
I've had a deal with the Turkish club, 75 minutes you're off.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you. And if you look at it, the stupid, I'm sorry to use that word, coach we have, foolhardy, seeing that Osimhen had left, removed Lookman and Chukwueze, and then we were blatantly exposed.
You can, yes,
that was fatal. Even if you remove, even if
the
Mali government isn't paying him to frustrate Nigeria. Seriously, man.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's another question. Why do we have a Nigerian coach? That's another question. But anyway, let's move on. So very